What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Professional Opinion Show. Drum roll, episode 9. What's up with you, big dog?
Well, I mean, you could probably see I got like a new look angle here because I had to do a lot of upgrading, dude. The office you can't really tell from this angle, but my little office space has changed significantly to accommodate my workload. I
Man,
actually, you know what I mean? Like, I actually need like more stuff and things available to me at expeditious pace, as it were. But
you
things
mean
are
you can't
going
set up
good.
office to look cool? You actually got to get stuff done in said office.
Yeah, dude. Which is again a good problem to
Counterintuitive, right?
have, but annoying. Yeah. I just it has been. You know how they're like careful what you wish for kind of thing.
Right.
And again, dude, like I'm super happy, and this is the spot that is frantic and controlled chaos as it is. Like, dude, I live for these moments and times, dude. I don't want to say that I necessarily thrive in them. I've been told it's how I perform better, but like I don't know how, dude, because I just realized on the way over here to do this one thing that I enjoy more than most of the things I do. It's Tuesday. Dude, in my mind I'm thinking like I'm on Friday, and yeah.
Oh, man. You got
Yeah.
ways to go, man.
Got a little ways to go, bro. Little ways to go. But as always, happy to be here, proud to serve, and I'm super grateful to get to do what I do, and even more so this. How
Heck
about
yeah.
you?
I
On over in
appreciate
your
it. Yeah, I was gonna say I appreciate you at least carving out a slice of the pie over there to keep this thing going here. So hopefully that's
dude.
not interrupting your workload too.
This keeps me grounded. Oddly enough, not even playing. I don't know exactly how, but I think it's just we get to do like this verbal dump. You know, all the rabbits running around in my brain, and I love this time.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Appreciate a lot of obviously, just getting to chat and think things through and being a little organized with thoughts and stuff too. But also, man, I think it's been super cool the people who have reached out and just said like, dang, that's been helpful. Doing that. Speaking of which, like I mentioned, I'll do a couple shout outs today for some specific folks who had reached out. One, I say give a shout out. I think we've given Ron Baker multiple shout outs, but shout him out again for keeping us accountable. We missed our weekly upload last week, and that's why I sent over. He told us not to be a statistic. So, as always, appreciate when we know people are out there listening and expecting us to come through. That's helpful. Speaking of which, we will be trying to shoot for like a Thursday, Friday upload every week. Appreciate any flexibility as things have been a little hectic lately. But yeah, what about a shout out to Amos Hamel? I think
Oh my God.
yeah. So what is up, Amos? Was stationed with us down in Charleston. I'm pretty sure he caught up on like every episode and liked every one of our videos when he found it. So he was not, however, a fan of. I think in the last episode you threw some dirt on University of Tennessee, but
Naturally, yeah.
yeah.
Man,
But
glad to
no,
hear you're still alive, brother. Reached out to that cat like a while ago, and I didn't hear anything back. I didn't know if he had made it.
nice. Yeah. Appreciate the support, brother. We got on TikTok, Dr. Joseph Casey. I look like we were his first comment on TikTok. One of your rants from last video, and we got I had lunch with Grove this past weekend. He's in town from we'll keep it just as Papa Colgrove. He's down. He's over in Ramstein, but he came over
Yeah, I
my
was about
neck
to
of the
say,
woods.
I knew he was across the pond.
Yeah, he came over to my neck of the woods for some training and stuff, so we linked up. He is our 1% subscriber. I always see on the analytics, like on Spotify, it tells you where people are listening, and there's always 1% from Germany. So found out that's him. So
Hey, way to keep us international, dude.
right, man. Oh man, I just had like what's that Step Brothers movie?
Prestige worldwide. Why?
Prestige worldwide.
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
talked about
Well, I
there?
mean, that's not what it's called, but they're at the party.
And lastly, on TikTok for the programmer, I talked about, if you remember my analogy last week about the juggling balls, the glass balls. He did have a follow-up question. I said, nice analogy. Thank you for sharing. I struggle with consistency, but for my family, I always show up. Would love to hear more about how you split up your day. So I told him I would touch on that again here in this podcast. And I guess the way that I guess and the way when I restated that analogy, I'm not going to take credit for inventing that or putting those things together, but was really like, I think I have the opposite problem of him. He said he like always shows up for his family, and it's more of like being consistent with the work. I find that most hard chargers and entrepreneurs, they fall too much in love with the work and their, the passion side, and they have struggle showing up for the family piece. So that's why for me, that analogy was helpful. And like, not that like I always do want to be present with family, but I think sometimes we just get so much in our groove that we like have to carve out and remember like, to be present and to make sure we show up. So how I go about carving out my day is really just around my family's schedule. Most people go off, the kids go to school, wife goes to work. That's my time that I know I have a limited time to get all the things done. So for me, I just make sure that time is spent extremely efficiently, and always carve out. There's this book, it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's always like, ask the question to yourself every morning, what's the one thing I can do today that'll make everything else today easier or not required, or etc. But trying to focus on what's the one thing, what's the next one thing I need to focus on, instead of the 10 million squirrels running around in my head that I can just pluck one off the tree and take a bite of. What's like, just even if you take 30 seconds of what's the one big one that I can take some time to knock out. So that's how I really start out my day, and knowing that because I have being intentional about spending time with my family, when that time comes around, that the school bus is getting ready to drop my boy off, it's like, all right, how do I start to put a bow on everything to pick up tomorrow, and so that I can be present. I think if you work all the way up until that line, you might leave something untangled, or it's hard to be present with your family and be intentional with them when you still got 10 things untied of like, I wonder how I'm going to still do that tomorrow, or how I'm going to pick that up, or etc. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but that's kind of where my mind was when I said that, and really how I go about organizing my day. It's really, I spend some time focusing up front of what are the big chunks that I want to knock out, and I try to knock those out early, and I try to also be intentional about starting to put a bow on things towards the end of the day, or leave them in a shape where they can be left for 12 hours without just running crazy in my mind. Not perfect by any means. Like sometimes shit goes haywire. Things still run off into the evening. But that is, in an ideal day, those two things happen. They make a lot of the things in between and after much more easier to manage. So what are your thoughts on that?
I wish I was you, dude. I wish I was like you. Two things come to mind. One, I'm very much with Admiral McCraven, make your bed, meaning, get those. It's such an easy thing to do. There's simple tasks, right, throughout the day that if it's kind of the same as training, like physically, you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves. So I found that like knocking out like the minuscule and mundane, like day-to-day task, your boy's socks, just scooping them up and getting them out of,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just so when you come home, right, you're not staring at these other 10 things that you knew were there but forgot about because priorities started stacking, right? So I think establishing daily routines is crucial. And not even so much daily as in the sense of I get up and I do these things. I think it's more beneficial for me and my circumstances and things that I do. It's more beneficial for me to plan on the backside. So the night before, right? I know stuff and things I need. That's packed. That's already there for me by the door. I don't have to think. All I have to do is wake up, caffeinate myself, and then move because things are already staged. So I just grab and go, right? And for me, that is the making my bed every day, right? Because I can't literally make my bed because Kim's usually in the way. I do try to flop over my side, but I've kind of slowed on that because I just come home and get frustrated that no one took the time to do the other side. But there's that, right? I believe in I guess setting yourself up for success, right? And I think even as something as simple as like, dude, cleaning out the coffee maker and putting the coffee grains in and setting that auto timer. So when it goes off, dude, and it's probably because I'm a caffeine junkie by nature, but it starts my day off so well, dude, when I get out of bed and all I have to do is bump down the hallway and fill up the glass, right? I get so mad at myself, dude, when I wake up and I go in the kitchen and I'm like, realize like, oh, I let this one, this ball drop. And then I have to empty out the coffee filter, wash it out. Then, then now I'm working already
Yeah.
before I'm even awake, right? And then the dog's pissed because I'm taking all this time. He's been holding his bladder all night, and he's just at the back door staring at me. So when I can set myself up for success, my day starts off already better because I wake up, bump down the hallway, let the dog out, pour my glass, come back to the door, toss him a treat. He's in the bed. I sit on the couch and meditate in my own time and start to rearrange my thoughts distraction free, right? Then the part where I vastly differ from you is once I walk out the door, dude, I literally, have you ever heard Bruce Lee where he's
I've
like,
heard of him. Yeah.
yeah. You ever heard his like famous, his most famous like quote?
Man, no, I don't.
Be like water. That is his like most famous quote, dude. And it's not only in the sense of like fighting, right? There's actually some really brilliant thought process when he's talking about being like water with fighting. It's just it helps you manipulate kinetic energy better, and you're moving through your whole body versus just throwing a punch through your arm. Like, so there's that aspect of it, and it's just the idea of remaining fluid, right, and understanding that we don't happen to the world happens to us. Like, we're, as much as we try to be proactive, when you really get down to it, like pull that microscope out, you realize that you can try to be proactive and you can have all these plans and goals and stuff, and that's good. But we're really reactive to everything, right? Because as soon as you get in the car, as much as you planned everything out and my bag was packed and ready, Sally had different plans and drove into the back of Jerry on the way. And now we're all in the traffic jam because, she had to like send that last text out real quick, shit emoji or something. And now we're all stuck in it, right? I try to, and I have to, because the nature of my job, right? That people get sick. All of a sudden, I have a client that was going to do this, and now that one's turned to three, or or not at all. And so I can't get hung up and frustrated with change. I have to just accept that this is the reality of my situation and adjust accordingly, right? And as annoying as it is, not only do I have to make an adjustment, but I need to pause for just a split second and also decide, all right, well, while remaining fluid, what is the best way to be efficient in this fluency, right? Like what other puzzle pieces can I move to make this the most productive shift? It's the same. And sometimes things just fall out of the sky. I had that. I told you I had a phone call before this. I was doing this interview because I'm hiring coaches right now for this place, and I had this interview. That guy actually reached out to me early, right? And I'm in the middle of my workout, which, by the way, for anyone who knows me, this is my sacred time. This is what keeps me from saying and more so doing things that I'm thinking in my mind when I'm irritated. And I if you don't work out, you should, but just for the simple, there are endorphins release, there's stress relief. They're not for abs and look good on the beach. I mean, just to reset yourself with all the floating around sometimes. It really is a healthy, smart, stress relieving activity, and extends your life. So nevertheless, this is an important time to me, right? I'm kind of in my church, and I see this text, and I know what we had going on, and I know what I have after this. And so it made total sense to me in that moment. You know what? I need to not be selfish in this moment, and I need to be efficient. I can pick this back up later, or just I'll double down on it tomorrow kind of thing, whatever, right? The most effective time for me right now would be to hit pause on what I'm doing and take this, right? And I did. And I was all excited, right? Because one, everything went exactly how I thought it was going to go. And so that was good. No surprises. Jotted down some quick notes. And then I was thinking all right, this is dope, dude. I'm gonna go hit up my buddy. Like I could stretch this out, no worries about what's on the backside, blah blah blah. And so I get all my stuff. I'm packed up. I'm ready. I'm about to go. I get halfway here, and then I get a text from my wife that's like, "Yo, could you bring me some lunch?" And it's like, yeah, I can do that.
I would love to.
I mean, I would love to do that. I mean, I know you were totally caught off guard that you were going to be at work today, and and so I think, like, I'm just being, as transparent as I can and realistic about this, right? I could go that route. I could have let my thoughts get like on this sarcastic smart ass, like, come on, aren't you about to, she'll probably kill me if I say how old she's about to be, but you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't like plan this ahead. But the reality is, like, you have one way of lining up your stuff and things, if you just mentioned, and then I have my way. And to be honest, I think some of that, and I just thought about this right now, like as we're talking, and I'm saying it out loud, a lot of that is probably because I know who my partner is, and I know, she does not go by and make my bed every day. It's like she goes by, it takes 10 minutes to get to this place. So
if everything's green and if everything is perfect, yeah.
And so we'll walk out the door down to the second and just act like the bird's gonna crap in the right place. Everyone's gonna drive perfectly, and I'm not gonna forget that thing in the junk drawer, and which is me bananas. But I know who I married, and this crazy didn't just happen. It was part of the initial attraction, and so that probably has some to do with how I, go throughout my day, just on that aspect. So I would also advise our buddy who's asking about this, it helps to take into account the situation you've put yourself in, not just you as a person, but those around you, because just like they say, it takes a village. You do need to be aware of the people in your life just as much as your own habits, right? Mm-hmm. Because that totally dictates how your day's going to go. So what I just said in my situation is I'm trying to aim for unpredictable, you know what I mean? Which is why I live in this world of like, I plan to the best of my ability before, but as soon as I walk out the door, dude, I'm ready to react. And I just know that's knowing how my wife and her characteristics and how that would go, which I will say that only said she'd have figured it out, right? But she knows my schedule too. And so I'm sure she's thinking like, he's got time to squeak it in, which, yeah, but it also means that I don't have time to make my own meal. I'm going to make you something, and then I'm going to drink my meal because there's no time to sit, now I'm flushed against the wall, especially since my personality, I am very much of the militant mind, right? Like on time is late. So like deadlines and all that, like they matter to me. If the movie starts, I tell Kim 6, know?
Yeah, likewise. We're in the same boat there.
Yeah.
And I think just what you do every day, I mean, you're much more, out, you have the clients, I think you have the room to be flexible. I think for me, so I usually do everything in the morning, get the kids out, and then I like scoot my chair up to a desk, and there are 10,000 things I could do. So it's just like, I think similar to what people talk about with writer's block, if you're going to write something, a lot of people that work on computers have the same challenge with where do I start? So I had the chair up. You can make this machine go anywhere on the internet. Now, right. What is the first thing you need to do? So I think that's where probably our current lives are a little different. And also, I feel like you're on the verge of getting so busy where you're probably not going to be allowed to be, or not going to allow for that flexibility to be as reactive as you probably are today. And there are certain things that'll start to come up where it's like, you can't move this. Like if you don't, for example, as for me, more in like the entrepreneurial space, if marketing doesn't go out the door or don't get campaigns running, the business just stops. So, some of those things, that's where you have to think like, okay, what do I have to do today for this guy? But he also brought up consistency too. And almost like he struggled with consistency. And for me, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and then one more follow-up question. But like my thing with consistency for a lot of people is to start super small. Like pick one little thing that you can do to start towards a trajectory of where you're trying to go versus I think too many people have this, and a lot of it comes from social media. See this guy on here, you need to start working out, and for most people they internalize that as I need to go to the gym, spend a full hour, get my heart rate up to level 5 for 30 minutes, and I know you would probably agree with that, but
Not necessarily.
That's like-
I might surprise you with that one.
but for me anyway, it's like if you can just start small, like just make it to the gym for 5 days in a row, even if you barely have time, or you want to start eating healthy, like just do one thing small that you can commit to, that can be more consistent with, and then you bake things on, you start to bolt things on. Let me add on to that, more consistent. And one funny thing that I think comes up with this, I'm sure you've heard of these, and you touched on morning routines. Have you ever heard of something called the Miracle Morning?
No.
It's from a guy. Well, I'm sure you've heard different flavors of it, but the guy who famously wrote the book, it's called The Miracle Morning. His name's Hal Elrod. Super successful, like big sales guy. But anyway, you get up and do these 7 things, and if you do all the 7 of these things, it's a miracle morning. But it's all the things you've heard of. It's like affirmations, quiet time, exercise. There's like 7 different things you have to do, and now people are learning like do the cold plunge and do get in the sauna. And so I guess the point is, in the context that I'm bringing it up, it's like all of those things can have benefits, but if you hold yourself to like, I have to get up and do the miracle morning every morning, or else, the rest of my day's a failure, or you're not productive unless you do a miracle morning. I know you follow a guy named Alex Hormozy, who's kind of like my go-to for all like business stuff. He was like, he had this guy came to him, I guess, coaching client, was like, man, what's going on? I need some productivity help. I'm getting up and I'm doing this miracle morning every day. It's taking me from like, 7 to 10. And then by that time I'm breaking for lunch. And he's like, I got this crazy idea that's going to make you way more productive. How about you just get up and you do freaking work at 7 and you work until lunch instead of, So it's basically, it's almost like you have to zoom out to realize that. But dude, you're spending all this time on doing crap that doesn't matter, trying to, build out this habit of getting up and doing my morning routine. But if you lose sight of the bigger picture, what do you want to happen? Do you need to get work done? Well, then get up and get shit done, or get up way earlier and at a certain time you have to start working. But I think, on social media, and I'm sure people brought this to you, like, do I need to do cold plunges? Do I need to, get in the sauna for 45 minutes in the morning and all this stuff? So, what are your thoughts on all of that nonsense?
Well, one, right? So depending upon the person, right? It's not nonsense, right? The cold plunge and the sauna. One, your cold plunge and your sauna are both to attack the nervous system. It's to release a flight or fight response in your body, and because that totally wakes up your nervous system. And if you're not economically fortunate enough to have that sitting right outside your house, and you really wanted that same effect, stop being American and just start your day with a cold shower. Let me tell you something. You will wake up. Your nervous system will be alert. It will effectively put you in a flight or fight mode, and you don't even have to do it that long, right? Mm-hmm. You could just have your favorite a-hole buddy throw a bucket of ice cold water on you, and you're ready. It does not take all that. The reason that you see all these people on TikTok and YouTube that are doing this and they're sitting in the cold plunge is because that's what they do for a living. They have the time to do that because that cold plunge and sauna pays the bills. Them filming that and showing that. David Goggins can say irrational, stupid things and come off as so motivating because he has nothing else to do, right? That's why. He can wake up and decide to run 100 miles because, one, he has a very, very, what's the word? The shades of gray. Submissive. He has a very submissive that allows him. If I talked or did the things that David Goggins does in his relationships, Kim would have lobbed my head off with a butter knife nice and slowly to remind me that I don't tell her what I'm doing. And no one ever points that out. He's running down the road at 3 a.m. out of nowhere. How disrespectful is that to his partner? And make no mistake, she understands that when she wakes up and he's just AWOL, she better get up and film, because I imagine off camera there's a pretty good discussion that goes on if she fails to get that posted, right? Of how like awesome he's being. right? I hate this freaking. No one ever looks at like the total picture, right? And so here's where these problems come from social media, right? Everyone on Instagram isn't living the best life ever. They're just showing you the crap they got right. Right? No one sees like the reality of it all. I've had several people who's like, oh, I bet you love David Goggins. Why? No, I don't. I think he's an extremist, and he tries to pawn it off as like, you know, if you're not as gun ho and as whatever as him, then you know you're wasting your life. And you're a piece of crap. Well, you got 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 working eyeballs. You can hear and smell. I have and a quarter sinus cavities, a titanium right arm. I've broken all my ribs, both feet, both hands, and like that's just not realistic. Everyone's different.
Right.
Everyone's circumstances aren't his, right? Yeah, if I had 1 million followers, then I would get up and do stupid stuff and make sure that my wife gets out of bed, and you know, and his wife probably happily does it. It's probably not a scare tactic to get her to do it. She knows that's how they're paying the bills, right? I would tell you this though, I bet she doesn't live that life. You know what I mean? So let's stop being hypocritical and all, you know. So I would say that the best advice that I could give somebody is there's things in life that we want to do, and then there's things that we have to do. And I think if people would just take time, like, you know, and you put down on paper, hey, yeah, these are all the, bro, I want to speak Spanish and French fluently. My Duolingo app, the bird's dead. He's dead. He is literally, it's a picture of a skeleton. It is an owl skeleton mocking me because I haven't got on there in 39 days, right? I want to do that. Do I have to do that? Do I need to do that? No, man. None of the rookie 7 to 11-year-old clients I'm about to train speak, they're struggling with English just like me. So, you know what I mean? Like, I would do
That's
that.
funny.
But I'm serious. Like this miracle morning, like that sounds good. And you're all that's trying to do is get you to commit. And I would argue that I would, as you are typically correct about 10 times out of 10 in my experience. And you're right. 7 is, believe it or not, 7's pretty aggressive, right? I would start with go ahead and write those 7 things down and then look at them and decide, all right, what do I have to do though? Right? I have to do. I have to, you know, make sure the car's got gas. I have to, like old buddy said, hey, how about let's just keep it simple. You get up and start working, right? So,
Right.
yeah. How about let's start with something real easy that I see people do all the time that's unnerving to my personality and how I operate. Let's set an alarm to get up, and when that alarm goes off, let's get up. Let's start right there. The alarm goes off. Let's just put our feet on the ground as much as we don't want to, and find some big boy pants and turn it off. Let's try not to slap snooze 5 times, right? Because otherwise, why did we set the alarm to begin with? Like, so do we want to get up 5 or do we need to, right?
This is hitting way too close to home for my bed partner.
And the thing is like, it does it. Yeah, me too, dude. It is where, you know, we're living that same life. And to me, it is unnerving because like, and I don't understand the mindset of, my wife knows she's hitting it 3 times. She knows for a fact she's snoozed 3 times. Well, why don't we just cut all that noise out and just go to the last one, right? And just get up.
Man.
I mean, make no mistake, I'm all the way in the other side of the house having my coffee or gone. But like when I am around and I watch it, I can't just start breaking in my brain. And I'm like, why? So yeah, I would keep it simple, and I would dial it back to like, one, let's go ahead and, since all we're talking about, right? Let's go ahead and talk about the things that have to be done. Then we can take those wants, right? And some people do need to like list this out and see, and you know, you can almost laugh at yourself after you put it down and realize that like, what am I even trying to do right now? This is totally irrelevant to where I'm trying to go in my life. So I don't need to. And then you'll find out that maybe you need to change the algorithm on your social media feed and stop looking at stuff and things. And by the way, I will just to put it out there, right? I think, you know how when there's this big movement back in the day, right? And still slightly there to some extent. Now it's like this like natural beauty, no makeup thing that girls are talking about. But before, there's this big push back in the day that like, hey, big is beautiful, right? Like we're putting all this pressure on ladies to be these super thin, chopstick models, right? And I would argue that we've made a big shift, and I've seen this. It's obviously in my face with what I do. Our young men today, dude, are going through this same thing right now. There's this major body dysmorphia that's going on with these kids, to where these kids think that they have to be like Jack, right? Like everybody needs to be Quadzilla and like, super muscular and all this, because especially after COVID, dude, we put such an emphasis. Everybody, when COVID hit, became a fitness influencer, I mean, it blew up. Do you remember that? Like everyone was filming themselves doing all kinds of ridiculous, incorrect, and will hurt you exercises with no strategy whatsoever for longevity and progression. But I'm dead serious, dude. I've noticed like big time that like your school age, definitely freshman, sophomore, high school kids, dude, there's something going on right now. And their psyche, they think I saw this kid yesterday, dude. He had the most knee meat I've ever seen hanging over his kneecap with, huge quads. And so the people that aren't gym junkie, right? You have these different heads on your quadricep, right? And they were so well defined and monstrous, right, that I know this kid just gets on this leg extension, does 1,000 reps like every day, and that's cool. That also is absurd and not healthy when you've shown you can't have these major muscle imbalances in your body to where you have these dominant muscles taking it. It affects how you move, sleep, walk, sit. And the backside of this kid is like his hamstrings were almost non-existent, which is a really, really big problem for not only the kneecap, but the hip and everything else, right? And again,
yeah, but you can crop those out of the Instagram picture, man. You don't need to see that.
Yes, sir. And none of his buddies are going to be taking shots of him from behind. That just doesn't match up with bro science. But yeah, dude, there's this, I'm telling you, dude, there's this problem going on with young men right now. And we need like a culture shift big time, and we need to swing it. We're obsessed with athleticism and performance, which is fine because it's really just history repeating itself. It's the Roman Colosseum, and we're all just watching these chuckleheads smash themselves into CTE and all this long-term damage, throwing tons and tons of money at it. I mean, there's a kid, high school kid, I think just signed his NIL contract for like, I think it was like 12 million or something. High school kid, right? They were mad at Johnny Football when he came in doing his thing because he was knew he was going to get paid. You're about to have you're about to have thousands of Johnny Footballs running around. And I think it's so funny how that's, I mean, hell, I'd like to get paid for building these little Johnny Footballs. And like maybe we should throw a couple more dollars towards our teachers and stuff, but whatever. If people we've always been entertained by the mob, dude, and that's just it always will be, right? But sorry, I got way off on that tangent. But again, right, these are things that people are prioritizing, right? Like, I will say this about a gym junkie, dude, and these little Quadzilla boys that are running around. I am a big fan of Skies Out, Thighs Out, but they're prioritizing down to the T. Like, they're not. And I do like that. It's one of the things that attracted me to the fitness industry is most that are involved. Commitment's not an issue. Like, scheduling is not an issue. Like, these people are the most pointed on time. I love being a part of that community.
They're probably more like me, where you need to define when to stop because you probably want to live in the gym.
Yes. And the thing that is funny though is, as much as I love that, I probably spend the majority of my time trying to get people to realize that, like, you keep looking at this like this one little goal, right? That is, you want to be able to accomplish by the end of this year. And I'm trying to get you to realize, how does that goal marry up to a lifetime, to where this is something, sure, you could be big and strong and we could juice you up. You could get there in a matter of months. What's that look like though when you're 60, 70, right? I see so many people, dude, that especially, oh man, I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole because it's a long one. Like all the old people that are walking around pissed off because they don't understand technology and, they think we've lost our way and and take zero responsibility for poisoning our food industry and causing all this obesity and type 2 diabetes and,
Oh, man. You're going there, huh?
yeah, Lucky Charms with arsenic in it and all that, right, to get their dollar to rule the world. But we're the ones that are messed up. Take no responsibility for everything that you created. But I've seen that, that come full circle to bite them. And hey, it turns out swallowing skull and all that is affects you in the long term. And I think we have bettered ourselves in the way of like longevity and practices that will keep you young forever, right? Which is a problem for our government because we need people to die. But I'm gonna get off that guy, go way down. I thought this from a very zoomed out lens, dude, and it actually does pertain to what we're talking about. Totally. Watch this big whole circle I'm about to make here, dude. Right? Yes. Like, even from this big thought process and where we're at as culture, as a society, right? You have to look at your day to day in these thought processes, because you're forever going to be stressing yourself out if you have no end, right? Like, why are you doing what you're doing every morning? Like, what is it that you're trying to get after? And you need to really determine, like we've talked about this before, right? It's what it really boils down to is like, what are you staking your identity in? You know what I mean? It really does. Like, what is it that you want to be? Who do you want to become? And how is this stuff that you have to, how is this 7 morning miracle line up with your aspirations? I still said it wrong, huh? They know what I'm talking about.
Right.
How does that help you meet the person you're striving to be, or example you want to set, or whatever, right? Because if it doesn't line up with your ultimate goal, then I think you're wasting your time.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think one is even like identifying what that goal is. Like, where are you driving towards?
Yes.
And
fair.
Does all these little check boxes, do they, help you get there? For example, you're knee meat carver out guy, either him or probably something most people are more familiar with, even like the 6-pack guy. They don't ever talk about what do you do once you get that. Because you can only get it so toned, but if you do all these crazy things to get there and you kind of hit the peak, are you willing to sustain that lifestyle that it takes to keep up with that? Probably not. Most of the time you get that thing polished up, and then it's like you're defeated and you go back 100% the other way. Versus like if you have, a trajectory or a lifestyle, or, this is the lifestyle I'm going to commit to so that I have this, then maybe that's something you will do if you plan on going to eat carb free forever or whatever. But,
dude, and you nailed it. People always ask me, I hear this at least once a day, every day. What's the best workout? What's the best diet? The one you're going to do, period. The one you're going to do consistently, right? It goes right back to what we've been talking about, right? What you have to do is come up with something to take it back to our military days, right? You need SMART goals. Right? Specific, measurable.
God, I hate that was worked out. I used to hate those classes, but they're right. They're
right, dude. They're right. Right? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? Do you have the time for it? Like, these are all things that you need to ask yourself. And I think that is part of the issue, right? Is there are some people out there, dude, that don't know how to set goals, right? They don't, as crazy as that sounds, I guarantee you there are people out there. I just had an interview Monday, I think. No, today's Tuesday. So maybe Saturday. I don't remember. Right? Like I told you, the days are blurring. But I was talking to this guy about taking a position here, right? And I'm going through this guy's resume. On paper, super qualified. I'm hiring time coaches right now. Part-time, right? My budget per right, for these guys is $20 to $30 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I got this kid who's coming fresh out of college, right? Awesome guy, dude. And talking to him like I would love to have this guy. But the more we talked, the more I realized, like, your goals and aspirations are good. And I know what you're doing. You're trying to jump in. You want to like start climbing this, proverbial ladder and get to that end goal of a head dude or whatever it is he's, wants to achieve. But we're sitting there talking and I'm like, hey, hey, you live in Virginia. Yeah. That's right, coach. Okay. So, and immediately I'm trying to like put my logical cap on, right? Common sense. So you have family down here, or like, you're moving closer to, right? Cause it can't be to come down for a part-time job.
I can't virtually coach.
Right. And people do. God bless if you got one. And so, we start to talk this out and I'm like, brother, like we're right next to Destin. A very popular tourist destination in the United States. Like it's up in the top 10. It's the Emerald Coast, like bathtub water clear. Like people come here. They love this crap, right? Snowbird capital of the world, probably. And I'm like, and because of that, and the housing market sucks for everyone. It's super sketchy down here. Like, and the time you're talking about moving, we're around 4 military bases. There's a thing called PCS season where everyone tries to move to keep kids' life normal, during the summer when they're out of school. You're trying to come down here in May. You don't think people bump up the price a little bit because they know everybody's making moves? They absolutely do. And then we continue to talk and it's like, oh, you don't have a car? So you're going to buy a new car too. Did you look at the ad? Let's do some math. I hate math. Let's just do this. And this is without taxes, and like we're talking through and I'm like, man, I understand. Like, you're trying to get out there, but like, boy, we gotta put more thought into it than this, because all you're about to do is come down here getting some massive debt. And then all the skills in the world aren't going to help you take that stress out of your mind when you're trying to help someone else optimize their life. How can you be 100% there for them like you need to be when 1,000% you're drowning? These are not realistic goals. I did, dude. I wanted this kid. His qualifications were great, and it would look great for me and the company that we have him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But totally to his detriment, right? And so I ended up just like laying it all out there for him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right."
He got some free life coaching, huh?
Yeah. I was like, I mean, you could do it. You're just not gonna eat every day.
We can spread some meals out over a couple of days for you. I mean,
I'll try to.
I can invite you over to dinner one night.
Yeah, I get you some MREs. You can stretch them out.
Oh my God.
But yeah, dude. So, and I think it's fair to say that, and I think a lot of it's because there's a lot of pressure on people, the things that we label success, right? And
God.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of pressures on people. And I think just to bring it back to your brilliant brain is that, if this is something we're struggling with, right, let's just start with step 1. The alarm clock's going off because we determined that this is the appropriate time for us to get up and be most effective with our time to be somewhere at a certain place at a time, right? We can alleviate so much stress just by being a little bit more prepared and being committed to that preparation. And so, yeah, let's start, like you said, step 1 and get up. If we can just do that, dude, we're ahead of the pack, because I think it is the majority that's like,
right.
You know what I mean?
And I think you're 4 or 5 times, or 3, whatever you said there. That's probably on the higher end. I think it's more like, we're probably in the teens for most people of just slapping that thing around. If they remember
to set an alarm at all,
Yeah, that's bad.
And so, yeah, I think it is exactly that, right? 1, you need to decide what you have to do versus what you want to do. And once you have that down, you need to seriously ask yourself, what things can I do to make myself successful and completing the things I have to do? What preparations do I need to make to be, 100% successful in making this thing that has to be done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then are the things that I'm planning to help me be better prepared realistic? Can I actually do these things, right? And then, like you said, start with the smallest thing first and build that routine and commitment and build on it.
Exactly.
Do you know, like, there's some kind of statistic out there, and you probably feel the same way I do about statistics, but there is one out there, and all your like blue chips, you're like the big ballers out there.
Yeah.
Do you know they all? Not all, right? There's going to be one or two. Bill Gates even goes to the gym. Do you know that's a commonality amongst all them is exercise and health and wellness, right? I'm not saying doing the Rock Johnson, super jacked, right? I just mean like there's a commitment to health and wellness because a body that functions well, thinks well, operates well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And literally our body is a machine, dude, and it is very much just like the vehicle you drive. You can put crap in it and you're going to get crap out. You put that high octane fuel in there and some performance, and that's what you get out. Better performance, right? And to even go back to your guy with the six pack, maintaining a six pack isn't hard at all. One, you have to realize one very important fact. We don't have bread in the United States. We don't. We don't sell bread. The closest thing that we sell to bread is sourdough, and that's only if you're grabbing that from the bakery. Anything else, that's not bread. You take a trip overseas, try some actual bread, and then come back to the United States. We don't have bread. So you might as well just chuck that out of your life, right? And then the rest of it is as easy as this. Try to put things down your throat hole that are as closest to their original form, right? And if you can do that, then you've never walked in the woods and walked past a tree that had rainbows, hearts, and stars hanging off leaves. That's not real. We've just the FDA has effectively influenced and poisoned us into thinking that the color green means healthy and the free ranges. Did you see that chicken run a 5K? If you didn't, it's probably not free, right? But if you just stay close to the original design as possible, right? If you grab an actual apple versus applesauce, right? You're better.
Probably onto something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's how you do that. And we have this thing where I don't know how this happened, and it's only getting worse with technology. Like, right, you can go in any public community center, whatever, mall, and you'll see a group of kids sitting down, and they're all on their phone texting. And I would argue probably 8 times out of 10, man, they're talking to each other.
Yeah, that's
like
tough.
Sitting there, like they're talking to each other. They're literally texting the person beside them rather than verbally communicating, eye contact, facial expressions, all that, right? We're losing this form of communication day by day. And because of that, dude, we're bumping in all these things. There's so many. We really need to reevaluate, right? Like how we're doing a lot of things in life, a lot of things. So it's no wonder that people are struggling just trying to task prioritize and get on a routine thing when we have lost the art of most basic, like what you would think's human nature, right? Is dwindled very fast, right? The whole I've been looking at all these resumes here lately, and I actually laugh out loud at this desk every time I'm going through everyone lists communication skills, customer relationship skills. No.
Yeah.
No.
Go ahead.
That now, dude, that is an actual skill. That is an actual skill now to be able to remain respectful, kind, cordial, bubbly, motivating. Like those are skills in the face of, right, entitlement and
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, and
Right.
over people wanting, everybody wants something for nothing, right? Because that's just what they think the world is now. They're owed everything. And so these are actual skills now. And I will tell you this, man, if people would start like getting like snatching, like forcing kids to communicate and actually get out and socialize, right? Your kid's gonna, people that can carry on conversations are super successful now. Have you noticed that? If you can go in a room and if you can go to Starbucks, order coffee, sit down, and carry on just a 10-minute conversation with a guy sitting across from you that you've never met, you can get paid.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
Paid.
100%.
It is
Yeah,
an actual skill.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where probably there's a big, I think, gap in probably what where people normally get paid and the ability to go out and network and talk to people like that. That's where the big opportunities are if you can't connect with them. And that's what one of the things I try to do all the time, always talking to different sellers, of people trying to, buy their house. Are you going to sell? What are you going to do? But it really, like, the big, great deals usually come from these long form conversations. Are you willing to actually figure out who this person is, meet them where they're at, have like an honest, transparent conversation? Because they're so used to these normal people, or these, I would say not normal people, but these sales companies that read their script and, they go through here. Do you want to sell? What condition is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they get so just mundane with that. You're right. If you can just be natural and laugh at a joke, have a conversation, throw a joke back, something like that. It seems so simple, but those are, it's kind of scary, but those are starting to be like the differentiators of who's going to be successful versus who's going to live in these bubbles, get overtaken by the AI, since we're going down that route, and all this government craziness.
and all of that shows two very important traits that circle right back to making your day easier, right? And it's authenticity, and right, like that's what all that shows. When you can sit down and carry on that conversation, what you're saying to that other person and what you're actually doing, right, is being present, right? Mm-hmm. And being present nowadays is a commitment because we have so many distractions. And my watch has gone off 6 times during this, right? And I already know what my schedule is, and I know that's exactly what that is. That's a distraction, right? And most of it's probably someone trying to sell me some insurance or something, right? But the thing is, dude, is like, it's the same in that day-to-day planning your thing out. If you're even authenticity, right? If you're being honest with yourself about what really needs to happen versus what you'd like to see, right? And that's just being true to yourself, and then committing to your own well-being, essentially, dude. I think I feel like it's kind of like this uptick. I heard this kid not too long ago, and I mean like this year in 2025. I heard this kid, and they had to be 6 or 7. 6 or 7. I don't even know what grade that is. I don't even know are you in school at 6 and
That's
7?
like
My
second.
kids are older.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like second grade.
Yeah, so like a second grade. Do you remember how stressful second grade was? I don't even remember second grade. I'm pretty sure if I even try to dial it back, I remember like waking up panic, and you know when you had that good sleep on the desk, you got that slobber on your cheek,
or you jump.
And you jump, you feel it on your face, and you're like, oh, that's what I remember. I heard this second grade kid earlier in the year, dude, talk about, they were sitting there, we're at the tennis club, they're doing like red ball, and they're talking to this other little kid about their anxiety. What? What? And and I know there's somebody, they're right now about, anxiety is real and da-da-da-da. And I'm not saying it's not, right? I think it's influenced by some of the ways that we live. But I also think that there's something really unhealthy about everyone sitting at the house on Trazodone. Like, again, my wife gets super pissed about this, right? Like super pissed about this because I think you cause your own anxiety, right? when there's all these things that you want and that you want to happen and you want to be healthier and you want to look a certain way and you want to make it to this thing on time. Well, but when are you just going to do it? So why don't you first just try doing that? And I feel like your anxiety would drop immensely if you just showed up on time, if you just actually worked out, if you just, you know what I mean? But it's way more easier, right? I'm going to lay off the Trazodone and all the crap that people are taking at their house, right? Because I know that's common. I think we have this real problem. Not only are we losing the skill to talk to people, right? But now, even as adults, I find it more hysterical the older I get that people almost have to be inebriated to carry on conversation now. Adults, right? Like they don't know how to sit in a room. Like they're just wildly uncomfortable with communicating and hanging out numbing themselves first, right? To take down these walls of insecurity that you're already with this person. Like they showed up. They like you. If they didn't want to hang out with you, you would have showed up at this place or thing and they wouldn't have been there. Right? So calm down. You've won them over, right? They ask you to be at a place because they want to be around you, right? You don't need to get sauced, you know, to do. And I feel like that's, as adults in America specifically, right? Like we do not know how to socialize, right? Without some kind of outside influence to either enhance or make it a situation in which we feel comfortable, or not situation, an environment rather, right? That's
Dude, I was
sad.
looking, I think to that point, I was just recently looking for just some other things I'm not going to get into. Just over the last 30 years, anxiety diagnosis, and it looks like a hockey stick if you've never seen it. But so it's like, did everyone just not ever have that before? Or are these companies now getting really good at, making these scripts easily available? Again, don't hold your comments on, I know anxiety is a real thing for certain people, but I think, like you said, there's other ways, I think, for majority of the people who just jump on the bandwagon, like, hit the gym. What would happen if you got up on time, hit the gym, and then still had time to make it to work on time? Like, I'd be willing to bet that you're going to feel a little less anxious or have a little less anxiety problems in like a scenario like that. But the easy thing is go to the doc, pop a, pill that has other, who knows, side effects that come along with that.
Well, yeah, and let's just blur reality and our problems.
Yeah,
right. Instead of solving them. I'm gonna tell you, I've seen it, dude. I've let people in a workout. I've let people in just in taskers in the military. Yeah, put something on a board. When someone lines out something, it's a sense of relief. Why? It's where the make your bed speech came from, because that's one little tasker that's it's done, and there's a sense of relief there, and there's instant gratification associated with it. You look back and you're like, hey, that's nice and organized. That makes me feel good. I know where all my pillows are. They're right there. And dude, to your point, right? I also think this is an American. I mean, your other big countries probably got it too. It's probably huge in Britain and these other, like anywhere where like there's decent plumbing, right? Like I'm just being serious, right?
Yeah.
Because then I think you have the benefit of having that issue, right? You have the privilege to be anxious. Let me tell you something, dude. When I was in Mogadishu, dude, those kids and adults, no one seemed like they were struggling with anxiety. They were just trying to live. And they didn't have time to be anxious, because if things didn't get done, you die. I mean, it's very, and I think that is the thing, right? We're so, to go back to what we talked about that one time, dude, we're so on the easy side of this curve where things just happen for us and we don't have to apply much effort. Dude, I saw, here's a great analogy or example of this, right? I was watching this doctor and he's talking to these two guys. He's on this podcast and they're talking about, funny enough, right? Again, going back to American culture and whatnot. These guys are talking about PKI, and what this is it's ketones in your blood, right?
Oh, yeah.
That are associated, right, with ketosis, right? mind you, ketosis is a state of like you are starving. You're in a starvation mode, and your body is now taking all your fat deposits and whatever else it can, right? If you really slip into this, it'll start eating your muscle tissue. And people are doing this in America to get slim, right? It is. People are harder not to work per the use, right? Yeah. That they are putting themselves in a state of starvation. They are so blessed and have so much crap handed to them. They have developed the mindset of, I will put myself in a starvation mode so my body just eats my fat and I don't have to actually move to get rid of it, right? And this doctor's talking to these two dudes on this podcast, and he's like, what's funny is like we're talking about how you get to this state, and he's like, this problem is only a problem because the way we live now, because now you can DoorDash or drive through and pick up this sack. They're talking about glycogen overloads, right? And so you I'm not going to get into all the science of it, but you need glycogen deposits to build muscle and all this stuff. It's storage, and it's how your muscles get fueled when you're doing anaerobic, aerobic activity, et cetera, right? And they're talking about how do you build up, these glycogens while being in a state of ketosis and all this, right? And you have to do it through these super unhealthy carb loads almost, something that's high on the glycemic index, right? Like you got a fistful of pretzels down your face hole every day, right? Those are terrible for you, by the way. But they were sitting there in this discussion, and you see this doctor just get annoyed. And he's like, he's like, we're only talking about this because the absurdity and how we live now. He was like, if we took it back to original design, back in the days of just pure survival, he was like, people operated in this state because you'll have these people that's like, oh, ketosis is terrible before you mess up your arteries, da-da-da-da-da. And then you have the other side of the coin where people have these like huge success stories, right? And things get better for them, and they actually have better blood work and labs and all this crap, and yay. And his point was that if we had to actually go out and wrangle a bigger beast, a deer or whatever, and we had to actually take them down, the effort, the metabolic effort that it would take to accomplish this task, right? Then the prepping of the meal, the cooking it, and think about it, dude. They're rolling the dice out here. Ain't no one sticking a thermometer in the deer's butt to find out if it's at a smooth, 165 or whatever internal temp. Like they're just like, hey, I noticed when I put it on this thing that hurts my face, it tastes better. Like, let's just leave it on there and see. You know what I mean? Imagine going through that, dude. So everybody was probably like ripped. Right? Extremely and dirty teeth. But I've often sat and pondered, dude, and when I'm having my wind down me time, as to how are people sexually attracted to each other. And back, could you imagine, like, what'd you do with your fingernails? You know what I mean? Like, I think about it, and there's actually some things, if you really go, and I'm not going to go down there, but there's some brilliant design in there as well. Titillating, in fact. But of how that all would work if we were all natural. But this doctor was just sitting there kind of scoffing at the idea of like what we're talking about right now, right? Our problems really aren't problems at all. We have problems from a lack of action and commitment and just like doing the thing. How about just stop talking about what you'd like to do and try doing it? See how you feel after it's done,
Man. Yeah, mind blown. That is probably, in the interest of trying to bring this full circle, that's probably a good analogy of do something hard. I mean, first world problems are among us. Pick something that means something to you and narrow it down to something small that you can actually do that actually takes a little bit of effort.
You can see it, dude. You just strummed my heartstring right there, dude. I believe that what you just said. I think that there is, and I do something completely, I can't say that word, ridiculous. I do something completely ridiculous at least once a year. Something that I know is like absurd, and I know it's going to hurt, is going to challenge me mentally, physically, that is like, that I know, like, I know when I decided what it is that I'm going to do already that I don't want to do it. And it's why I'm going to do it. Because I believe, dude, that there is power, right, And the most successful people in the world, dude, are so good at getting uncomfortable, getting comfortable in the uncomfortable situations, right? And I think what you just said, dude, if you just like, and like I said, something simple is like once a year. If you just go out and challenge yourself and kick yourself in the balls or teeth or whatever, pick apart, and like, or as a self-doubt, right? Am I lacking testicular fortitude, or do I need to like get mentally tough? Have I gotten like, is this why I'm so stressed? Because everything bothers me all the time. Like I can't take any failure, any criticism, any constructive criticism, right? Like maybe I need to like toughen up, right? And which this is what happens when you give everybody a trophy.
Right.
Like
Full circle there. No, but I want to say it's like the Japanese, they call it the masogi or something like that. But that is like pick out one thing that's very hard, do it once a year, whether you just climb a mountain, run a race or whatever. But the last time I heard that, that's when I ended up signing up for that marathon. I tried to do a marathon and broke my knees. But yeah, little things like that. It's funny, we talked about fast. Like I tried to do a 24-hour fast, and now I kind of do them quarterly. But it's more of just the mental suck, because I know that I'm a big fat fatty eating crap all the time. But it's like, I just want to see if I can go 24 hours and do that. Or I started cold plunging mostly for the mental part. Like, can I sit in a bath of ice water? I don't know. But now I know that I can. If I ever fall in a glacier water, I know I can make it like 2 minutes, 40 seconds before my fingertips start to fall off.
that's dope, dude. You cold plunge for 2 minutes, 40 seconds?
Yes. However, I actually really end up enjoying cold plunging.
No, because it works. It has huge health benefits.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I didn't even do it for the health part. I mean, obviously, I knew that was all great. I mean, it does feel good knowing like, hey, there is some benefits to doing this. But I enjoy more mental challenges. So for me, it was more of like, I know that's gonna suck, so I want to try to do it. And Tony Robbins does one every morning, and I just want to be like that guy someday. But
Tony Robbins should want to be like you, bro. That's how, like, how odd is it that someone as successful, a brave entrepreneur mindset challenged themselves? It's not a coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do the same thing in business all the time. Take these huge risks just to see, if it pays off. But going back to real quick on the cold plunging, and this would probably really suck for someone like you in the South. This is great like all winter and fall, but because mine sat outside, it's really hard unless you get one of these like high dollar ones with their own meter and or motor on them. And so it was like I had a free one, all winter, and then it started getting warm. The amount of ice that it takes to cool off like a full bath like that is just, for me, it was like, this is cool and all, but at the same time, this is a pain in the ass to get cold enough to even do anything. So one day
I'll text you later a very affordable cold plunge solution that's out now, and it has a tank that circulates water. It's like you can get one for $100. It's not the sexiest thing, but you can get it. Also, pro tip: if you are trying to do a makeshift cold plunge, go buy you a case of water, freeze the case of water, and now you have an ice block to drop in to your thing without.
I just kept making ice every day, and it would melt and half-ass.
That's a pain in the ass, yeah.
Yeah, and I know I actually talked to Matty A guy, we were stationed with down there too. He has like the freezer, he built like the freezer, and you do some like modifications to it, and it keeps it cold. It keeps the water cold without freezing. It kicks on and off. But I don't have enough room for one in my garage and stuff. So, yes, please text me that.
I will.
I would love to get back doing that, but yeah, not feasible. But in the interest of wrapping up, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Can I do the cool story?
Yeah.
So
glad you brought that up.
Cool story, bro. And this isn't my thing either. My one like tough thing. I've yet to determine what that'll be this year. It usually presents itself because I surround myself with lions, and they'll challenge you. You are the company you keep. But they just had this. They call it the Savage Loot down here, right? And the 7th Group Special Forces has a certain company that they host this thing every year. They partner with Black Rifle Coffee Company and some other local vendors. And every year, just down the street, actually, in my neighborhood, there's this little dive bar called Schooners, right? People love it. It's fun. I hate that everybody's still smoking cigarettes, but whatever. There. It goes out, it goes across the Mid-Bay Bridge, and then it goes around the bay here in the Destin area. It is a 42-mile hike, right? So as I found out, it's termed an ultra marathon. It was talking crap to me last year about it, former NFL dude, and I was trying to tell him, like, I know he's a stud, but he also doesn't know where I came from, and that his gesture or stab at me was a missed thing altogether, because I know that all that's just here, right? I also know that I keep a very high GPP for myself, general physical preparedness, right? I have a very it's your baseline that you hold yourself accountable to, and mine's pretty intense. And so I knew, though, having that in my pocket, that I just had to go to a dark place up here and I could make that happen. And he continued to challenge me, so I was like, yeah, I'll sign up right now, dude. I don't know why I'm about to give you $80 so I can run 42 miles. I think that's ridiculous. But, I mean, that's kind of why I bought my truck. But sure, whatever. And where we had some miscommunication in this whole process was he failed to tell me that the race was in 4 days. I didn't even, I knew I didn't even have appropriate footwear. So I got on, I overnighted a pair of shoes that are made for marathon, and luckily for me, right, this was 2024. The technology is there in the fitness industry. You don't need to break in shoes anymore, right? You can just throw them on and go. And so I did that, and it was miserable. But that was my one thing that year. The cool story, though, right? Like, I have a background that supports stupidity, right? Make no mistake, that was my thing that year, of just like, with the chip on my shoulder, because I do have a Napoleon complex of like, I'm going to prove someone else wrong. That's the most motivating thing for me ever, is when someone says you can't do something. But fast forward 2025, they tried to okey doke me again, except this time they gave me 24-hour notice about the event. I was prepared to do it again this year, because I knew with just a slight preparation, I could do way better than I did last time. Way better. I was so unprepared. At one point, I was in the gas station shoveling a whole Ben & Jerry's in the beer cooler.
Oh my
But
God.
anyways, so rather than fall victim to my own insecurities this year, I told them, like, you know what? I'll support the cause. I'll give you my $80, but I'm going to opt out for the whole loop, and I'll just do the first leg, because you have options. You can do a 10-miler, a marathon, or, the whole shebang. And I was like, this will actually be a great platform for me to selfishly promote my new gig and find some like-minded people. And so I dressed up in all my swag, and I go and bang out this 10. Now, to make it for myself, I was going to, in my mind, that was how I made it harder for me, was I was like, I'm going to do this fastest or run 10 miles. Like, it's a full sin from the word go. And so, dude, and there was this Ranger battalion cat that was out there with me. I'm sorry, dude, if you find this podcast one day, Ranger buddy, I'm just going off what my eyeballs showed me. Physical appearance, like, I look like I should win in comparison to this dude, right? We're same height, same, I'm just a little more defined. So from an eyeball test, like, I should look like I have this. That dude's mental game was next level, bro. We were stride for stride for the first 6.5, maybe 7 miles, and we're clocking every mile somewhere between 7:10, 7:30.
Ooh.
Going, bro.
Yeah.
Let me remind you, I turned 43 this year. So, like, I feel like I'm doing something, like I'm going. And we get on the Mid-Bay Bridge, dude, and we start to make this climb up the bridge. And the headwind, like, I was going forward, but it felt like I was moonwalking. It was the wildest thing ever, dude. And I even out loud, like verbally, started asking the Lord to ease up. And this dude beside me is just dying laughing. And I probably sound like the crazy guy in Braveheart. I believe I probably am. But we start going, dude, and all of a sudden I noticed, inch by inch, little by little. And it was nothing, looking back on it now, it was nothing but he had more testicular fortitude that day, dude. I probably could have hit another gear and gritted it out. It would have hurt like hell, but I knew where I was stopping. What I didn't realize, this dude's running the whole damn thing.
Oh my God.
Thing, bro. He won the championship belt and all that. He finished first, probably because we started in an absurd pace. He actually thanked me as he started pulling away. He's like, "Hey man, thanks for pushing me, dude." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm stopping at the beach, just so you know." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that's why I'm hauling ass. Like I'm only doing the 10. Hey, you didn't notice I don't have any water with me. I don't have any lights out here in my." And he's like, "Yeah, I was thinking that's kind of weird, but maybe you're just gonna like, down them at the check-in stations or whatever." And I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm stopping at the beach." And you know what that dude said? "Well, I'm here now." And he just went.
Wow.
More absurd than that. I get to my 10. I'm celebrating my small victory. I finished 4th out of 100 something people, but out of that 100 people, I don't know who was doing the whole 42, so it's nothing to really brag about because the guy that won the whole thing was neck and neck with me and pulled away from me before we even got there. Like that, he's next level, right? But more, I think, and just from the things that I know and the things we've been talking about today and where we're at as a society and kids and stuff, I'm sitting there doing what I came to do, and I'm rubbing elbows with everybody, hyping up my new thing. I've did the Fort Walton High School track and field coach. I'm doing a lecture there sometime in the coming weeks. So all my stuff's going swimmingly, dude, until I look up. I'd only been there about 30 minutes, right? It took me 1 hour, 19 minutes to hang this 10 miles. And I was at 172 heart rate for 1 hour and 19 minutes. I look up, dude, and here comes the bananas and the coolest thing I've seen in quite a while. This dad's coming down to the check-in station with his 8-year-old little boy.
To run it?
He ran the whole 10 miles, bro.
8 years old.
8 years old.
Dang.
He fought a damn horrific hurricane headwind coming over the Mid-Bay Bridge with oncoming traffic looking right at you, all the stuff and things that come with it. And God bless him, dude. That kid, he looked hammered drunk when he pulled over. Like he gave it all, And it was so I also think this is why it's important to get out and do stuff and things like this, dude, because you always get a humble serving of humility because you can't help but look in awe. Not only did I have the humble pie for the Ranger kid who not only stuck with me, but pulled away from me before we hit 10 to finish the whole thing. But then I get another smack in the face watching this 9-year-old just this, dude.
That's
crush
insane,
this.
Dude.
I'm sure, like, when I was 8, I probably pedaled that many miles, like going to my buddies and doing stuff. And, dude, I would have never even imagined. Like, that kid, I should have got his name because I bet we could Google him in 10, 15 years and find out what business he owns and operates. Yeah. And that's just like, so if anyone has been listening to this, dude, and you're struggling to knock out these little things, just know that somewhere out there's an 8-year-old boy who just slayed one of the harder 10-mile runs that I've done. And I mean, if that kid can figure out how to set his mind to that and knock that out, like, for the love of God, man, put your feet on the floor when your alarm clock goes off. Just get out of bed.
Oh my
right?
Gosh.
Let's just get up, get motivated, and get to it. Like, it really is that simple.
Man, talking about spinning your cheeks and putting your feet on the floor when you hear a sound. I mean, that seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
But no, that is a cool story. I ran a 5K I think it was last year or so, and it was like for a fundraiser, so my wife and kids were there too. My son took off with me, but I was like actually trying to run it. But dude, I finished and I turned around, I'm like getting water and stuff, and it wasn't long. He started, I saw him coming down, turn down the alley to finish the thing. Like he ended up running the whole 5K, and I thought that was incredible. So I'm gonna have to tell him about.
Be a proud papa moment, dude.
It was until now. Now I gotta tell them that we got 8-year-olds running 10K or 10 miles now, not 10K. So we gotta one up
dude.
that.
Ty's 14. Ty's 14. I came back from that 10K. And this is after I'm smooshing everything. I get back to the house. It's close to 11 o'clock. This kid's asleep.
I'm still asleep. Well, there it is. Yeah. I mean, and I think it is unhealthy to look too much at other people because there's always that guy there's somebody way out there. But again, when you hear the alarm clock go off, get your ass out of bed. At least put your feet on the floor.
Ass out of bed.
Stand up, man. If you stand up, yeah. I do that with my wife. I'm like, dude, put your feet there. Stand up. It's magic. Now you're awake. Like, you don't have any.
Now you just got to put one foot in front of the other. Step 2.
Now there it is. With that, I think we should wrap. Cool. Well, appreciate it, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.